Hey everyone, and welcome back to Just Use Your Phone. Today, what I want to do was something a little bit different. I realized as I was recording all of my tutorial videos and my review videos for the apps that it might be rendered useless by certain people because they might not understand the basics of budgeting, or they might not understand the processes that you need to go through in order to be able to use those apps effectively. So today what I want to do is I want to take a look at the budgeting basics for beginners. So anybody who would be interested in learning how to budget effectively and set up their budget before they start using any types of apps, this video is for you. So again, if this is something that you like and want to see more of, you should subscribe, hit the notification bell, and at the end, if you like this video, hit that like button and leave a comment down below. So today we're going to look at the who, what, why, when, and how of budgeting. So we're going to start off with what a budget is, then we're going to move into the purpose of a budget, then we're going to look at why you need to set a budget up, and finally we're going to look at how to set up that budget, the different components, everything that you need to do before, during, and after you create your budget. So what is a budget? On the surface, a budget is just simply a plan for your money. It is a way to track your spending and make sure that your money is actually doing what you want it to do. It's also a way to make sure that you're not overspending and getting yourself into debt. A budget could also be described as a financial plan for a specific period in time and a plan you make and follow for spending your money. So what is the purpose of a budget? Most people use a budget as a spending management tool, so they want to start tracking their spending and manage it before it starts to get out of control. Other people use it as a debt management tool, so they've gotten themselves into a whole lot of debt and they need to find a way to get out of it, so then they make a plan and payments in order to find a way out of that debt that they've gotten themselves into. But at some point, when you have all of everything under control and your debt is paid off, that budget switches from a spending management tool and a debt repayment tool, into a wealth building tool. So not only are you tracking your spending, you're spending more time allocating your funds to bring in more funds. So you're allocating money into saving for retirement, into investing, as opposed to just trying to allocate money into saving for emergency funds or paying down debt. So why do you need a budget? Well, that really depends on the situation that you're in. You might need a budget right now just because you find that your spending is out of control. You might need a budget because you have debt that needs to be repaid and you need a plan to repay that debt. Or you might need a budget because you want to start building wealth, planning for retirement, and investing. So now we're going to go into the setup of the budget and how we're going to set up this budget. The first thing that I think is important before you even start any of the other steps is to set financial goals. And the reason why you want to set financial goals is because you don't want to feel like you're doing this budget or saving or investing for no reason. Usually a lot of people save money and they save and they save and they're not saving with any end in sight. So they don't know what the money is for. They're not putting the money where it needs to go. They're not investing it because they have no financial goal. If you have a financial goal, it'll be much easier for you to attain it with budgeting, and it'll hold you accountable when it comes to your budget and your managing of your money, so that you could actually achieve that goal. So for example, if your goal is to get out of debt, you're definitely going to want to set up a budget so that you can reach that goal at the end of the tunnel, which is being debt-free essentially. So when you set up your goals, what you want to do is create SMART goals. So specific goals that are measurable, goals that are attainable, realistic, and timely. So you want to be very specific. If you want to pay off your debt, set a target date to pay off that debt. Set an amount that you're going to be able to pay every single month so that you can reach that target date and have your debt completely paid off. Make sure that it's realistic. Don't take money from your groceries or take money from things that you actually really, really need in order to pay that debt. It has to work in properly with our lifestyle. Can we make sure that we shop better and meal plan better so that our grocery bill is lower? Yes, but we're not going to pay off our debt, and then use whatever is left over in the end after we pay it off to live essentially. There has to be a balance. So once you set up your financial goals, the next step is the actual first step that you're going to take in the actual creation of your budget, and that is to do a spending audit. Yes, you're going to have to go back in time a little bit and see what you're spending your money on. The reason why this is so important to do is because if you do not do this, you will just pull numbers out of nowhere. You're going to be estimating, and when the budget doesn't make sense, or if you can't actually abide by that budget, you're going to be very discouraged and it's going to be hard for you to continue. At least if you're doing a spending audit, you have somewhere to start that's accurate and based on your past spending. And people usually do an audit of about 3 months, but you can kind of switch it up. If you want to do a whole year, you can do that if that's something that is fun for you. If you want to choose specific months out of the year that you spend a lot of money, so for like holidays around that time, maybe a change of season, maybe back to school time, maybe around birthdays, you want to kind of look at those months closer and see what your spending is like in those months and go based off of that. Once you've decided on the spending audit that you're going to do, what I would say is to print out your bank statements or go through your bank statements, choose different colored highlighters and assign each highlighter a category. So you can go through and highlight everything you spent in that category. So if you're using a yellow highlighter, you might highlight all the times that you spent money on fast food. A green one might be all the times where you're doing miscellaneous shopping. The blue highlighter could be for all the times you're spending cash, but you're pulling out cash, but you can't really account for that cash, and so on and so forth. It could actually be a fun activity when you do it that way, as opposed to just scrolling and looking through bank statements and entering amounts into your Excel spreadsheet. The next thing that you're going to do is select a budgeting period. So I made a video on my Instagram about budgeting periods. If you want me to upload that onto YouTube, I would have no problem in doing that. Just let me know down in the comments below and I will definitely upload that for you. But essentially, the budgeting periods that exist are annual, semi-annual, monthly, bi-weekly, and weekly. An annual budget would be useful for you if you wanted to kind of capture all of those expenses that happen periodically that you might miss. So like paying for your registration, holidays, paying for your license, property taxes, etc., etc. Like that would be the best way to catch catch all of those expenses, but it's not a realistic time period. Same thing for the semi-annual. I mean, if you wanted to do a check-in semi-annually and see how you're doing with the budget, that would be more recommended, but I would definitely not suggest creating a budget for a whole year or for half a year. The most popular budgeting periods would be monthly being the most popular and bi-weekly being the second most popular. Weekly would be mostly if, let's just say you get paid weekly and you wanted to go and budget with your paychecks, that would be the period that you would choose. But it's usually monthly or bi-weekly. So once you've chosen your budgeting period, next you're going to choose your budgeting method. Now, a lot of people gravitate to simply the traditional budgeting method, which is just to list your income and your expenses and see what you have left at the end. But throughout time and with the internet, there are a lot of different types of budgeting methods that might be really fun for you to try out. And the traditional method might not be the right method for you. I'm going to link to a post I have on my Instagram where I list out what the different budgeting methods are. So you can choose a traditional one, which is just listing your income, listing your expenses, and then you'll have an amount at the bottom. Another popular one would be zero-sum budgeting method. That would be the budgeting method that has been popularized by Dave Ramsey, where you give every single dollar a job. So you're budgeting and budgeting until that bottom line is zero. Another budgeting method would be the 50-30-20. So 50% of your income goes towards your needs, 30% to your wants, and 20% goes to savings. You could also switch that up by doing a 60-30-10. You could do that. You can do an 80-20 where 80 goes towards your needs and wants, and then the 20 goes towards your spending. You can find different ways to mix it up that way. If you'd like to see a video where I go in depth in each of these budgeting methods and kind of show you how to use them and break them down with real numbers, definitely upload a video if that is what you guys think is helpful. Once you've chosen your budgeting method, you hop right in and create your budget. You plug in the numbers, see what works, and then you go about your month or week or 2 weeks before you have to review your budget. The last step to the budgeting is tracking your budget. So you want to make sure that maybe once a week, every once in a while, you're checking in with yourself, checking in with your budget, making sure that you're not overspending in any of the categories. Maybe shifting some funds around if you see that you overestimated in one category and you're approaching the next budgeting period. You might want to take that money and put it somewhere else that's more needed. You might even want to put that money towards some debt. It really depends. Your budget is something that you really want to stay on top of it, especially when it comes to tracking, just so that it doesn't get out of hand. You just don't set it and forget it and the money's going to do what it has to do. You really have to kind of be hands-on, especially in the beginning if you're a beginner. So how do you make sure that your budget works? Well, if you're a beginner, as I said, you really have to keep track of everything, and you might get discouraged if your budget doesn't work the first few times. But I'm encouraging you not to get discouraged and just to keep at it. The more you keep at it, the more practice you get, the more money and numbers that you shift around, you will find your balance. You will find that sweet spot when it comes to your budgeting, and it will be successful. Just keep at it. Consistency, effort, and practice is what will make your budget successful. So that's it for this video about the basics of budgeting. I hope that it was really helpful for somebody or some people. If it was, leave a comment below. Hit that like button. If you want to see more content like this, hit subscribe and the notification bell. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.